Today, we're digging into something called postponement strategy and supply chains.
Yeah.
The basic idea, you deliberately delay certain decisions, you hold off. Why? To build in maximum flexibility.
It's a smart way to approach it.
So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really unpack what postponement actually is, why it's becoming so crucial now, how companies are actually doing it in the real world, and of course the benefits, but also the potential downsides, the pitfalls you really need to watch out for.
Right.
We've looked at some great research for this, including work from places like Cambridge University, and also practical examples from industry sources like Supply Chain Today and AR racking.
Yeah, it's a strategy that really flips the script on how products get from an idea to the customer's hands.
Okay, so let's start right there. If you're listening and thinking about this, what exactly is postponement? What's the core definition?
Okay. At its heart, postponement means delaying the final form of a product or service, holding off on finalizing it until the absolute last sensible moment in the supply chain.
So you're talking about delaying,
Right.
like shipping decisions,
Yeah.
manufacturing steps.
Exactly. Could be transport decisions, specific assembly steps, maybe even distribution choices. You wait until, say, you actually have a customer order in hand, or maybe until the product is physically much closer to wherever it's finally going.
Okay, what strikes me about that, I mean, beyond making the customer happy, which is obviously key, is how it seems to completely change the risk game. It's not just about happier customers, is it?
That's spot on. That's the deeper insight, really. Postponement isn't solely about cutting costs, though it does that. It fundamentally shifts your risk away from trying to forecast perfectly, which, let's be honest, is incredibly difficult, almost impossible sometimes.
Right, forecasting is notoriously tricky.
Yeah, and it shifts that risk towards agile response, which is still a challenge, mind you, but it's a much more manageable one if you've got the right setup. It means you're just far less likely to get stuck holding piles of stuff nobody actually wants. So this definition, it really underscores that the whole point is about being smarter, more responsive, and ultimately more efficient.
Okay, and I gather there are a couple of main flavors of this, two broad types.
That's right. You can generally think about it in two ways. First, there's location-based postponement. That's where you delay the final customization step until the product is geographically, really close to the end customer.
Okay, so it's about where that final tweak happens.
Right.
Makes sense. And the second type?
The other main one is process-based postponement. Here, you're delaying the actual final assembly or customization of the product itself, pushing it right to the very last stages of production.
Interesting.
Both are aiming for that flexibility, but they achieve it at different points in the chain,
It sounds incredibly smart, at least in principle.
Yeah.
But, thinking about today's market, super fast, globalized, companies fighting tooth and nail over costs, customers wanting exactly what they want. Why is this strategy becoming so important right now? So what does this all mean for a business just trying to keep up, to stay competitive?
Well, look, often it's the difference between, frankly, thriving and just surviving. If you connect this to the bigger strategic picture, postponement lets businesses genuinely adapt to all that market uncertainty we talked about.
Right.
You stay nimble. You react to what's happening now, to real-time demand. And that's just absolutely critical in sectors where tastes or technology can just, change overnight.
Yeah, fashion, electronics.
Exactly. Think about your own industry if you're listening. How fast do things change for you? Postponement helps build that resilience, that ability to pivot.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it also feels like it turbocharges product customization. Companies can really cater to individual wants and needs, offer way more tailored products, but without having to guess months ahead and build up mountains of inventory they hope someone will buy. No more costly guessing games.
Precisely. And that, in turn, naturally optimizes your whole supply chain. It makes it more efficient because you're slashing over production. You're drastically reducing unsold stock, maybe even close to zero in some cases.
Wow.
Your manufacturing, your distribution, it's all driven by actual demand now, not by a forecast that, we know is probably going to be wrong to some degree. And this translates directly immediately into lower inventory holding costs. Think about the savings on warehousing, storage, insurance. It adds up fast.
Which then, kind of like a ripple effect, must seriously improve cash flow.
Right.
You're not sinking huge amounts of capital into finished goods that are just sitting there gathering dust.
Exactly. That's cash freed up. Capital you can now use for R&D, innovation, marketing, maybe expansion, things that actually grow the business.
So for any business trying to compete, Postponement really hits those core pressure points: cost, fulfilling demand accurately, and staying agile.
Yeah, it's about being incredibly lean, incredibly responsive,
Yeah.
and strategically, taking risk out of your operations where you can.
Okay, it sounds fantastic in theory, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does this actually play out? Could you give us some real-world examples, companies actually making this work, maybe across different parts of the supply chain?
Absolutely. Let's look at a few common types and some well-known names. First, let's talk manufacturing postponement. This is where you make generic parts, maybe components, in bulk. Pretty standard stuff. But the final customization, things like, say, color, size, specific features, maybe even the final assembly itself, that only happens after you get a customer order.
Okay, and Dell computers, they're like the classic example of this, aren't they?
They really are a textbook case. Dell builds PCs based on exactly what the customer specifies online or over the phone. They only assemble the unit once it's ordered. This strategy let them offer huge customization, keep costs way down, and avoid those massive stockpiles of finished computers that, traditional makers were stuck with.
Right, and Nike, maybe surprisingly to some, they do something similar with shoes.
Yeah, it's quite clever. They might produce, say, a batch of basic shoe models, standard sole, standard upper, but then the final design touches the specific colorway, maybe special branding, certain features. Those get added only after an order comes through, perhaps for a specific retailer or online. It lets them jump on fashion trends much faster and avoids getting stuck with loads of unpopular colors or styles. Cuts down waste.
And Zara, the fast fashion brand, they take this even further.
Oh, absolutely. Zara's model is built on this. They often manufacture clothes in standardized forms, sometimes even undyed. Then, only when they see through early sales data that a certain style or color is taking off, then they'll quickly dye garments, add specific patterns, or finalize the designs. That's how they manage those incredibly fast fashion cycles and keep inventory super lean, responding almost in real time.
That's just amazing agility. Okay, what about logistics postponement? How does that work differently?
So, with logistics postponement, the products themselves are often fully manufactured. They're made and stored in a standardized form. But the key distribution decisions get delayed. Things like the final packaging, the labeling for a specific country or region, maybe even deciding the exact final destination warehouse or store. That's held off until the customer order is confirmed or the specific destination market is known for sure.
Okay, so how does a giant global company like, say, Coca-Cola pull that off? Their distribution must be immense.
They're a great example. Coca-Cola often produces, believe it or not, generic unlabeled bottles or cans of their drinks. The specific regional labels, which can vary hugely, different languages, different regulatory info, those are applied much later, maybe at a regional distribution center, just before going out to local markets.
Oh, interesting.
It massively reduces the need to hold stock of country-specific labeled products everywhere, makes it way more efficient to meet local needs, and reduces inventory complexity.
Got it. And the last type you mentioned was packaging postponement. Seems simpler, but I bet it has big cost benefits too.
It really does. Here, the product itself is standard, but you delay the final packaging until much closer to the sale or the customer order. This lets you tailor packaging for specific markets, retailers, or even promotions. Think about HP and their printers.
Okay.
They make the printer hardware pretty standard units. But the final box, the manuals, the power cord for the right region, the specific branding for that market, that often gets delayed until the last possible moment. So they can easily customize for different countries, different languages, without having to produce and store countless versions of package printers. Saves a fortune on packaging variations.
Right. These examples really show how it works, is that strategic delay, giving them flexibility, efficiency, and cost savings.
Exactly. Across different points in the chain.
It all sounds incredibly effective, really powerful.
Yeah.
But it can't be perfect, right? It can't be a silver bullet for every single business out there.
Yeah.
What are some of the complexities, the challenges companies need to brace for if they're thinking about adopting this?
That's a really crucial point, and maybe it prompts a question for anyone listening. What resources, what changes would you actually need in your own organization to make this work? Because yes, while it's powerful, postponement isn't easy. It demands a highly efficient, super responsive supply chain.
Right.
You need to be able to execute those delayed steps, the customization, the final assembly, the packaging, quickly and accurately when the time comes. And maybe a deeper challenge, honestly, is often just organizational inertia.
How so?
Well, many companies are traditionally built around making commitments, early, long lead times, planning way ahead. Shifting to this wait until the last minute mindset, that takes more than just new software. It often requires a real cultural shift.
So it's not just about the tech. It's the people, the ingrained processes.
Yeah.
I get that. And I can also imagine, okay, the benefits are clear, but maybe sometimes finalizing products only after an order could mean longer lead times for the customer occasionally.
That can happen, yes. It's often a trade-off you need to manage. Customers might have to wait a bit longer than for an off-the-shelf product. And there are also significant coordination costs. You absolutely need to invest in pretty advanced technology.
Like ERP systems.
Exactly. Robust enterprise resource planning systems, maybe advanced planning systems too. You need that integrated software backbone to connect everything seamlessly: manufacturing, logistics, sales, inventory. Without that clear visibility and communication, you risk, well, chaos. Stockouts, errors, delays.
And errors. You mentioned that. With tighter deadlines, because you're delaying things, does that increase the risk of mistakes in the customization or shipping the wrong thing?
It certainly can. The pressure is higher when you have less time for that final step. So you need absolutely rock-solid quality control processes in place, rigorous checks. This isn't a strategy you can just, implement and walk away from. It needs constant monitoring and refinement.
Right. Requires diligence.
And crucially, just to reiterate, it's not for everyone. It's not a universal fix. Postponement might not make sense for all products or all industries. Think about highly perishable goods with super short shelf lives, for example. The added complexity might outweigh the benefits there.
Okay, so given those challenges and considerations, where does postponement really make the most impact? Which kinds of industries or sectors are particularly well suited for this?
Well, the textile and fashion industry is a really obvious one. We touched on Zara. With trends changing so incredibly fast, postponement lets manufacturers churn out generic garments, maybe blank t-shirts or basic styles, and then customize them, dye them, print on them, add trims based on specific orders or what's actually selling now.
Reacting in real time, not guessing 6 months ahead.
Exactly. We also see it heavily in electronics and household appliances. Think about how many different configurations a laptop can have, or a washing machine. Different specs, colors, features. Companies can make the standard core components and then add the specific features or assemble the final configuration only when a customer requests it. Cuts down massively on holding all those pre-built variations.
Makes sense.
And even in the food and beverage sector, particularly for products with some shelf life, but maybe needing specific regional packaging or dealing with perishability, delaying final packaging and labeling until products are ready for a specific destination helps cut waste, ensures the cold chain is managed efficiently only for products actually being shipped, and lets them adapt quickly to, say, local promotions or language needs.
And finally, you mentioned the automotive sector, too.
Yes, absolutely. It helps them manage the enormous complexity of vehicle configurations. Think about all the options, engine types, colors, trim levels, accessories, features specific to certain countries. By making standard platforms or parts and then adding specific features or modules later in the assembly process, sometimes even at the dealership, they can reduce the insane amount of component inventory they'd otherwise need.
It really drives home that idea of adaptability, doesn't it? Seeing it work across such different types of businesses.
It does. It's all about strategically building in that flexibility where it delivers the most value. It's often a shift from a traditional make everything to stock approach towards make to order or assemble to order or even configure to order.
Okay, so let's try and sum this up. Postponement. It's clearly more than just a supply chain buzzword. It's a genuinely powerful strategy, it seems, for handling uncertainty, for seriously cutting costs, and for offering products that are much more tailored to what customers actually want in today's market.
That's a good way to put it. By strategically, holding back on certain final steps, whether that's in production or packaging or distribution businesses, can align what they offer much more closely with real-time demand.
It is not plug and play.
Definitely not. It can be complex to get right. It needs significant investment, often in technology and systems, and frequently, as we said, it needs a real shift in company culture. But when it is done correctly, the payoff can be huge. We're talking major gains in flexibility, efficiency, and cost control. I mean, the success stories are there. Dell, Nike, Zara, HP, Coca-Cola, they really show the competitive advantage it can deliver.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something maybe for you to think about. Consider a common product you use every single day. Could be your phone, could be your coffee maker, maybe your favorite pair of jeans. How might its journey from the very beginning, the raw materials, all the way to your hands, How might that journey look dramatically different? Could it be more efficient? Could it be even more customized just for you if its creation or its delivery involve more of these postponed decisions along the way? What sort of unexpected benefits might that unlock? Or perhaps what new challenges might that introduce into its life cycle? Something to ponder.